Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers and writers and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, and I'm a publisher at Red Penguin Books, where we publish books of all types and genres. So if you have a book in your head, maybe files all ready to go on your computer, or even 400 pieces of loose leaf shoved into a drawer, because we do get loose leaf all the time. Visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. I am so thrilled today to be joined by two authors who have completely unleashed themselves. Our first author today is Stephen Renwick, who is the author of Sleepwalk, Live in the Dream. We always say we want to live the dream, but I think that he has a different view of what live in the dream, 9-step program of self-destruction is going to mean. And then finally, Sylvie Bordzuk is the author of The Adventures of Kodie and Bella. They look pretty much like they're not dreaming there, so we'll have to see if they read Stephen's book. So first, let's welcome Stephen, the author of Sleepwalk, Live in the Dream. Includes an introduction to acceptance and commitment therapy, a recovery strategy designed to awaken a value-driven, fulfilling, and happy life. Well, I love all of that, Stephen. I want to hear all about it. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's a self-help book, but it's kind of flipped upside down, so it tells you in a way how not to live. So it's kind of aiming to help people prevent them making mistakes that other people have made, preferably myself, and helping them to stop living in a kind of hypnotic trance where they're just going about like zombies and not thinking about what they're doing, which is where the act therapy comes in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, before we get to the nitty-gritty about your book, two questions. First, that's a fabulous accent. So where are you hailing from?
Manchester.
Oh, Manchester. Okay. My son is a huge Man United fan. Are you Man United or Man City?
I'm neither. I don't follow football.
Are you kidding? You're allowed to live in Manchester and not follow football?
I don't follow football or soccer, as you say.
Soccer, as we say, of course. I didn't think you were allowed to live there without following football.
Yeah, there's a few people who don't watch football. I'm one of them.
I'm shocked. In fact, his 16th birthday present one year was we flew him over there so he could watch a game in the stadium. And to think you could just drive there and you never go.
Yeah, I could be there in 20 minutes, but I'd probably rather watch Dallas Cowboys or
something. And we're embarrassed. He's embarrassed that that's called football instead of your soccer there.
Yeah.
A sports psychology consultant? Tell me what that means.
Yeah, I work with mainly like professional athletes, helping them with the psychology of sport. So it could be anything from like anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, relationship stuff. It could be, you get a whole range of stuff, but it's mainly like professional athletes.
Right. Now, do you work with professional athletes in any particular sport? Obviously not football.
I work with multiple sports: strongman, tennis, football, golf, cricket. I've probably got about 20 different sports. Wow. Although never had an American footballer. So.
And how did you get your start in that? That sounds like the dream job for people who love sports.
Yeah, because I've always loved sport, and I did my degree when I was 26 in psychology, and then went on to do my master's degree, and then just set my own business up as soon as I passed. And I didn't want to wait around trying to find a job, so I just started my own job.
I think that's fantastic. and how do you find athletes to work with, or do they find you?
My website, renwick.fitness. Everyone goes through there, really. Yeah, and word of mouth.
Fantastic. I love that. Now, is it because of all of your work with athletes that you realize that some people are just walking through life sleeping, or was it other ways that influenced this book?
I think people have got problems, but they don't talk about them. And a lot of people are just living like zombies, not really thinking what they're doing. And I think the book helps people to start talking about problems and to make people realize that it's not just them who've got problems, it's everybody. So yeah, from an athlete's point of view, it's good to get things out in the open and not bottle stuff up.
Tell me something. We've been through this crazy mill for the past, well, it's almost 2 years now, at least for us here in the States, as far as the pandemic is concerned. I think it's a little bit longer even for you when it first hit. You know, has that made people sleepwalk through life more or less, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic lockdown was a social isolation period. So if you're an athlete, you can't train and things like that. It's tough because we like routines and rituals, and
Oh,
suddenly we can't do it. So it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult mental health problems.
yeah, no, there seems to be a lot of mental health problems that are going around since what happened. Even when we're not in complete lockdown, I mean, it's just still such a tenuous time that people are going through right now. Has your phone been ringing off the hook because of it?
It does get busier. Yeah, it does get busier. Although a lot of people with anxiety problems have found it better because they can wear a mask.
I've heard that. All the introverts of the world think this is fabulous.
Yeah, because you can kind of hide behind your mask and you can go out. And if you've got social anxiety, a lot of them have found it better.
Exactly. We all stand 6 feet apart and we don't talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
The extroverts are the ones who are having the problems. The introverts or the homebodies, they just stay home.
Yeah, but I think it's everyone's in the same boat. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do with your time? How are you going to fill your time? So, for like someone like me, writing a book is a perfect opportunity in lockdown,
Right.
because I can just do something every day.
Now, was this book written during lockdown? Is that where you found the time?
Towards the end of it, yeah, but yeah, it's kind of coming out of lockdown, but it's kind of like a lockdown kind of brought the book into life, really.
Wow, that's just.
Without lockdown, it wouldn't have happened. So
Now, I know that your book has 9 steps, 9-step program of self-destruction. I guess those are the 9 things that we're doing wrong, because
yeah,
you were focused
not,
on.
not all of us, but some of us maybe.
Can you give us a clue? What's one that you see the most often, or what's the quickest fix if you were going to try to?
People spending too much money, spending money they haven't got because they're trying to give a persona that they're doing really well and living a certain lifestyle.
Ooh.
Underneath, they can't afford it. And another step would be gambling all your money away, gambling addiction.
Do you happen to know? I don't know. Did gambling go up or down during the pandemic? Because I know there's all that online gambling now too.
I don't know the stats, but I can imagine if people are bored and they've got nothing else to do, I'd imagine it'll probably go up.
Yeah, well, certainly things like alcohol use and things like that went up. Here in the States, when we went into lockdown and only essential businesses were kept open, liquor stores were considered essential businesses. I don't know about in England if the pubs were kept open.
Yeah, I think someone told me the alcohol sales have gone up. All these are coping mechanisms to deal with anxiety and depression and stuff and boredom. So
Exactly. What's your hope that somebody would do when they read your book?
well, I've had people read it already, and they've told me, but one of them, it helped him stop killing himself because he kind of realized what he was doing. I've had other people say that book's just like me, like you've just described my life and stuff. So I mean, I'm hoping like maybe younger people read it and then they get kind of a heads up on what not to do before it's too late, sort of thing.
Now, can I ask you something personal? Is this personal experience? Were you doing all the wrong things in your life and you realized it?
Oh yeah, I did all those steps. I've done them all, yeah. But what I wanted to do was, instead of it just ending up being a negative experience, I wanted to try and take that negativity and push it in a positive way to help other people out.
Right. No, that's great. So when you have stories and examples in the book, it's like, been there, done that.
Yeah, every single step is me. Yeah, that's what I've done, yeah.
Now, I think personally, none of us are ever finished evolving. We're always kind of a work in progress. You know, is that
Yeah.
you did your 9 steps and you're good?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah. I mean, the key thing is if you can learn from your mistakes and don't repeat the same ones, and then hopefully you can be more of a success. But I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Even the best athletes in the world make the most mistakes, most failures, the most time. So I mean, it's kind of what you do with it, I think.
Yeah, it is. Now we're still near the beginning of the year. They say that 60% of all New Year's resolutions, people threw in the towel by January 15th. We're around that mark right now. So, what in your book can you give us as a nugget for a New Year's resolution that we can stick to?
Well, this is the thing with act therapy. It's about living your values every day. So it's not about setting like New Year's resolutions and stuff. It's about living your values and not being driven by your thoughts and your feelings too much. Like if I love exercise and I love going to the gym, and I wake up one day and my thought is, oh, I can't be bothered, I'm just too tired, and then I don't go to the gym, I'm not living that lifestyle that I want to live. Whereas if I just get up and go and like do the behavior bit, I'm going to be more fulfilled, even though I didn't feel like going in the first place. So it's trying to discover what's most important to you and trying to do behaviors that move you towards them things.
As a person who would have stayed in bed and not gone to the gym, I'm listening.
Yeah, yeah, because your thoughts can tell you all sorts of stuff, and just because you have a thought, it doesn't mean it's literally true. So
There's a statement that I definitely want people to hear. Just because you have a thought does not necessarily mean that it's true. And you were saying about your thoughts that you're saying that people act on their thoughts as opposed to on their values. You think
yeah,
you're tired to go to the gym, but if you value the health and the fitness that comes with going to the gym, that's different. Am I hearing that correctly?
yeah, it's kind of like doing the behavior, which is going to the gym and doing the exercise class instead of listening to your thoughts and just staying in bed all day and doing nothing.
Right. So one of the things that we all do is we listen to our thoughts too much and take them as, the truth.
Yeah, sometimes if you think every thought is true with a capital T, like Stephen Hayes talks about, because he founded ACT therapy. But I mean, some thoughts you do want to pay attention to. If you've got a thought, I've got to do my tax bill, you don't want to think, oh, forget that. But if you got thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I don't think I can do it, or anything like that, if you're hooking onto those all the time, they can affect the way you respond to things. So it's about allowing things to come and pass by, but just do things that are going to move you towards a more fulfilled life.
Right. What did you call this? ACT therapy?
ACT therapy, yeah, acceptance and commitment therapy.
Acceptance and commitment therapy.
Yeah.
Acceptance, is that accepting your values or accepting who you are, or accepting what you want? What are you accepting there?
Well, it's accepting that life can be difficult, and we can all experience pain as a human being. So we're not immune to it, and it's about accepting things that you can't change and accepting things that maybe you can, but it's also about like living your values and finding out what's most important to you, and then trying to commit to doing behaviors that move you towards those things.
Okay. And who did you say started this therapy?
Dr. Stephen Hayes.
Another
Yeah,
Steve, of course.
yeah, it's in the name. And there's a few main people who in ACT therapy, like Dr. Russ Harris in Australia, I think. Yeah, I'm quite good friends with Dr. Stephen Hayes now.
Really?
Yeah, quite good friends with him. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. Well, I thank you so much for that. And what's kind of interesting about what you were saying, doing what you think as opposed to what you believe or what you know is true. That was a little bit of our problem here in the adventures of Kodie and Bella. I think our little Kodie acted on thoughts a little bit too much here, but we'll ask the author. Please welcome author Sylvie Bordzuk. Sylvie, so nice to have you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us about the adventures of Kodie and Bella, and then we'll have Stephen psychoanalyze Kodie and Bella.
Okay, well, Kodie is a kitten, and he is named after my real live cat, Kodie. And Bella is a squirrel who, the real live one actually lived in our backyard. She was black with a brown tail. And that was how she was so very recognizable. And my cat does not go outside, so they never met. But, but I decided, what?
In case they did meet.
Yes, so I decided to just write a story about a friendship between them. And it takes place entirely in an animal world. So all the houses, the community, everything is just inhabited by all different animals. And one day they meet in the backyard, and Bella asks Kodie, would you like to go to the park with me? Now, Kodie's only a kitten, so he's not allowed to leave the yard. And he says, well, I can't go out without my parents. And she says, well, don't worry, I'll watch you. She's a little bit older than he is. And they go run off to the park, and lo and behold, Kodie gets lost. And they're running around and they're looking for each other, and they don't find each other. And with the help of a wonderful raccoon family, he finds his way home, but he learns some lessons. And one of the lessons is that his dad had taught him his address and phone number. So he was armed with that information. And when he went to the raccoons, he gave them the information, and the mother raccoon could therefore help him. So when they get back to the house, and of course his parents are very happy that he's home safe, both he and Bella apologize for disobeying, and they won't do it again. But he learned also the lesson that he really should know his address and phone number, which is a lesson that I wanted to get across to all kids.
Fantastic. I love that, because, when our kids are little, we keep telling them, this is your address, this is your address. And they think, why do I need to memorize all these numbers?
Mm-hmm.
This is why.
And also very, very young kids don't have cell phones, at least not the ones that I know.
Yeah, I don't know how young they go anymore.
So that's another reason why they should really know where they live and their phone number.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that this is your second book.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask Stephen some questions, because I know he's written other books before. Tell me a little bit how the process, the story developed differently. This one is absolutely your cat, even though your cat didn't go outside, and a squirrel. So did you look at these animals every day and say, I bet they have a story in them?
Well, Kodie is our fourth cat. And of course, all cats have a different personality. He has I named him after the other three. The other three were Kit with a K, Oreo, and Deanie. So I took the K-O-D and added the E, and I got Kodie. And he has a little bit of the personalities of each of them, plus, of course, a lot of his own. And the squirrel, as I said, was a real squirrel who lived in the neighborhood. And I had written a poem about her, because she was just so delightful to watch. She would climb up and down the trees, other squirrels would chase her. And one of my favorite things that she did was my next door neighbor had a garden in his backyard, and he grew cherry tomatoes. So one day I was sitting on my back porch, and I watched her surreptitiously go across the yard, looking around, go over to the cherry tomatoes and pick one and nibble on it. And then she looked around some more, and then she picked another one and she nibbled on it. So I said, this squirrel has a personality. Really, she's quite brave. And I love animals. That's basically what I write about. So I said, hey, let me just put the two of them together. And my first starts with this story were totally different. And the evolution just came sort of naturally. Sometimes I feel it just comes from the sky, it just comes down from the sky, and it kind of just goes through me somehow and finds its way onto paper.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, Stephen, I know you're here, we're talking about Sleepwalk, Living the Dream, but I know you've also written some children's books. Is that how they came to you too? Is it just comes like from above? How did he?
Yeah, sometimes I just wake up with an idea and I just know exactly how it's going to look. It's quite bizarre. I don't really plan writing books, but sometimes I just get an idea and I'll see the whole book in my mind and then I'll just write it.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to mention, Stephen, the author, the illustrator of this book, Alex Crump. He's English. He's
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good.
So we had all of our conversations through email.
Okay.
And he's wonderful. I love his illustrations. He's just great.
Pretty show now today. Absolutely. Now, Stephen, do yours have animals too? Do you have pets like Sylvie is inspired by animals in the neighborhood, or no?
Yeah. Well, the first children's book I wrote was called Charlie and the Cookies, and then the book I wrote last week. It's only been out a week. It's called Casper the Rescue Dog.
Oh,
It's got 2 dogs in it: Bobby Bean Boy and Casper. It's based on a true story as well, and they're real dogs.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Sylvie, I love that there was an actual, lesson. That it's a great story. Oh, love the illustrations. So beautiful. I just want to pop that up here again because the illustrations are just gorgeous. But for kids to learn something as they are embracing these fun characters. And it's not just about being a cute little kitty, but it's about being a cute little kitty who better know his address.
And listen to his parents.
Yes. And not, as Stephen would say, not just listen to his thoughts, because not all thoughts are true.
So you used an English illustrator, and I used an American narrator for my book.
Oh, that's hilarious. We all come for in different things. Now, as we're talking about books, I often say that they say statistically 90% of the population wants to write a book. That means that wherever I go, everyone in the room wants to write a book. And you two, you're like, you won the championships on this. You did it time and time again. So some tips for all those people, because there's a lot of people who are watching who are saying, how did they get that done? It's so hard. It's so hard to find the time. How do I think up a story? I don't have any imagination. I don't know where to begin. Sylvie, what would you say to someone who isn't quite sure how to get started?
Well, as I said before, the Kodie and Bella book started out with a totally different story. And as I worked through it, and also it's in rhyme, everything is in rhyme in the book. So as I'm working through it, if things don't rhyme, I have to change them. And sometimes that will change the direction of the story. So I think my advice would be just start with something, just get something on the page and then just let it flow. And very often it'll take you in directions that you're not even expecting, but that turn out to be even better than what you originally had.
I'm so glad you said that, because so many people think that it should pour out of you perfect. And that if it's not pouring out perfect, then I'll never be a writer. I'll never have and that you're just that there's a whole process, which is so empowering for people to hear. Really. How did you know when it was right then?
I know when it was right. Well, for the Kodie and Bella book, I thought it was great. And then I had my friend's grandson read the draft version of it. And there were parts he didn't like. And I said, wait a minute, I don't want, and there were parts that actually made him a little fearful. I said, I don't want to publish a book that's going to scare kids. So I went back into it and I consulted with you and your editors, and we found a way to change it and make it much better. So there I thought that it was ready to go, but it really wasn't from a child's point of view, which told me that from now on, any books that I think are ready have to go to a group of beta readers who are the age group that's going to be the audience.
That's huge, is to have beta readers. But you were something which is so important, which is open to the opinions and criticism, shall we say, of your young beta readers. Many writers, they write it and then they fall madly in love with it, and then they don't want to hear it from a beta reader or an editor or a friend or anybody else who might say, think you might have missed the mark a little bit right here. So it's incredibly wise of you now to say, in the future, always I'm going to have readers, this and that. But it's a huge credit to you that you were open to hearing it from them, because too many people don't want to hear it. Stephen, how about you? Tips to our new authors out there. What would you do or say to get them, tell them to get started?
Don't be held back by your education and your past or anything like that, because anyone can do it. So don't think, oh, I didn't get this grade in English, or I didn't do this. I just make a start with coming up with some ideas, and then just playing around with them and seeing which one you like, and then just have a go at it. Because I think a lot of people might think that they haven't got this experience, or they haven't got this experience, but or they haven't done the course in creative writing or something like that. And I just wouldn't let them have any barriers to even starting, because I think once you get going, you get a bit of momentum. It's not that difficult in a way.
That's a great tip. Absolutely, is because I always say that aren't we our own worst enemies in this world? That we think, oh, I don't have enough education, I didn't major in English, I'm not a writer, and you're saying don't let that stop you.
I wrote my first book in 7 minutes.
You wrote a book in 7 minutes?
I wrote my first book in 7 minutes, and then I ended up going on a TV show over here called Dragon's Den with it. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing, your limitations are in your own mind, and if you're listening to your thoughts saying, "Oh, you're not good enough," or you haven't written anything before, and you start hooking onto them, and then that's going to dictate your outcome. So it's kind of like thinking, yeah, I've got all these thoughts going around, but I'm just going to do it anyway.
I don't think I could write a notebook in 7 minutes and just wow.
It's a very short book. It's not like a novel.
I would think it's not quite like a novel, but even writing a blank book with lines in like a notebook would take me more than 7 minutes. That's just
the thing is, I woke up, it was in the morning, first thing in the morning, about 2 a.m. or something. I had this idea, and I just wrote it all down, just did the whole thing, then went back to sleep again.
and you woke up and there was a book there on your nightstand.
Yeah, and I wrote it, and the whole book was written out, and I thought I know exactly how it's going to look.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. So for all of our viewers, here's the clue: get a good night's sleep tonight.
Or wake up at 2 in the morning and write down your thoughts.
Or make sure that there's a pen and paper on your nightstand. Or, I know many people nowadays who write their entire book on the phone. They might use the Notes app or something else in case they don't have a pen and paper. Because when inspiration strikes, I guess the moral of the story is, when inspiration strikes, don't let it go. Don't let it go. Love that. Well, loved hearing about all this. I just want to remind our viewers about your books and where you can find them and learn more about them. Sleepwalk, Living the Dream, the 9-step program of self-destruction. And Stephen wants you not to be on one of those 9 steps, but more likely than not, you're going to read the book and you're going to see yourself in there.
Somewhere.
And recognize which one of those 9 steps you're on and get off that step. The Adventures of Kodie and Bella by Sylvie Bordzuk and illustrated by Alex Crump. A beautiful book of friendship and learning and mischief and getting back home. So it's a wonderful book for children, grandchildren, and young readers out there. And while I have you both, Stephen, would you mind mentioning some of your other books that you've written? And then Sylvie, you as well, just for our viewers.
Yeah, I wrote, my first book was Tennis is Mental. It's like the psychology of tennis. And then I wrote Tennis is Mental 2, which is a kind of a bit more in depth on psychology of tennis. And then I wrote Charlie and the Cookies. That's a kid's book about having morals and like working hard to get rewards. And then I wrote Inside the Mind of a Gambler, which is a case study on gambling addiction. And then I wrote Sleepwalk, Living the Dream, 9-step program of self-destruction. And then I've just wrote Casper, the rescue dog, which is a true story about a dog that's in a rescue home and he's just about to be put down, but then a family comes and rescues him, takes him home, rehabilitates him, changes his anxiety disorder around, and then he makes friends with other dogs and he's living happily.
Oh, wonderful. And Sylvie, in addition to The Adventures of Kodie and Bella.
Yes, I have. My first book was Mystery at Sea.
Mystery at Sea, a Noah's Ark tale.
Yes,
More animals.
it's not the typical Noah's Ark story. The animals are already all on board and safe and sound, and Noah loses something that is very precious to him, and the animals all help him search for it. So, story about cooperation and friendship and helping each other.
Fantastic. And any future projects that you're working on, Sylvie? Are you working on anything?
Yeah, I've got one that's just about ready to be illustrated, and I would like Alex to do it.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
All the animals again?
It has, yes, it's an animal story, absolutely.
And Stephen, how about you? Are you working on something else?
If an idea comes into my mind one day, I'll just do it. So nothing at the moment. Never know.
Well, fantastic. Well, when something comes in your mind, come back here Between the Covers and join us, and we'll see that new book. And same for you, Sylvie. Thank you so much for joining us Between the Covers.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Covers. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're an author who would be interested in appearing on our show, or perhaps you're a member of a book club, we do host book clubs as well, please visit BetweenTheCoversTV.com. By the way, at BetweenTheCoversTV.com, you can watch past episodes in addition to learning more about our authors and guests. So sign up there if you would like to be a guest on the show yourself. And if you have some books that you would like to get written or published, visit redpenguinbooks.com. Thanks so much for joining us.